Hello, and welcome back to Theology with an English Accent. We are now on episode 10. Now, in the last episode, we read about Paul's plans to send Timothy to Philippi. In today's text, we're going to read that he's going to be sending someone else there as well. Let's look at the text. I have thought it necessary to send to you Epaphroditus, my brother and fellow worker and fellow soldier, and your messenger and minister to my need. For he has been longing for you all, and has been distressed because you heard that he was ill. Indeed he was ill, near to death, but God had mercy on him, and not only on him, but on me also, lest I should have sorrow upon sorrow. I am the more eager to send him, therefore, that you may rejoice at seeing him again, that I may be less anxious. So receive him in the Lord with all joy, and honour such men, for he nearly died for the work of Christ, risking his life to complete your service to me. So Paul is sending to the Philippians Epaphroditus. Now he was a member of the Philippian church. He was the one who brought the gift to Paul. The Philippians had a collection, and they sent it to Paul by the hand of Epaphroditus. And the church intended for Epaphroditus to remain with Paul and to minister to him, to serve him, while Paul remained in captivity. And Paul speaks of him in very warm terms. He refers to him as my brother, fellow worker, fellow soldier. Now all of these were spiritual terms. Epaphroditus wasn't Paul's biological brother. He wasn't, by profession, a soldier. What Paul is saying here is he's referring to him as a brother in Christ, and a fellow worker and a fellow soldier in the kingdom of heaven. But Paul is sending him back to the Philippians, and he explains why. For he has been longing for you all, and he has been distressed because you heard that he was ill. Indeed he was ill, near to death. But God had mercy on him, and not only on him, but on me also, lest I should have sorrow upon sorrow. I am the more eager to send him, therefore, that you may rejoice in seeing him again, and that I may be less anxious. So Epaphroditus had been ill, and very seriously ill. But worse than that, Epaphroditus, news of this had got back to Philippi, and Epaphroditus heard that the Philippians had heard that he was ill, and he was anxious that they were anxious. Now this does speak to the closeness of the relationships within the Philippian church, and the bond of love that bound them together. Now fortunately, Epaphroditus didn't die. Paul regarded this as the mercy of God, not only upon Epaphroditus for not dying, but upon Paul, because we see in these words that Paul felt responsible for Epaphroditus. He was the reason that he was away from Philippi in the first place. And so he says he's sending him back to the Philippians so that they may rejoice, and Paul's anxiety levels can go back down. Now, it might have been possible that some of the Philippians regarded Epaphroditus' mission as a failure. But Paul ends this chapter with some words that dispel all notion of that. He says, So receive him in the Lord with all joy, and honour such men, for he nearly died for the work of Christ, risking his life to complete your service to me. So Paul makes the point that Epaphroditus was ministering to Paul on behalf of the Philippians, and that they should therefore receive him with joy and honour, that he risked his life in completing this mission. And Paul describes his work, in the highest possible terms. He describes it as the work of Christ. Now we might naturally think that the work of Christ would be preaching or some very important church activity. But Paul saw the mission of Epaphroditus as the work of Christ, the delivering of a message, delivering of a gift, and the service of another. And that really bridges into my question for this episode. Do you regard even the simplest things as the work of Christ? Be it, say, a kind word to someone, or a mundane task like putting out chairs or handing out books? And for today's challenge, I would just invite you to take 10 minutes and read through the first 2 chapters of Philippians once more. Because in the next episode, we're going to be beginning chapter 3, and the subject matter is going to change. So, until next time, in the words of Archbishop Fulton Sheen, God love you.